Just like, what do you want this for, dearie? Oh, I just like it. Let me know when you're done.
You could probably, if you're in Japan, there's probably just people on the street dressed up in those kind of outfits. You never know. That seems to be the way that works.
Yeah. Well, like fetishism is very clear. Like there's no question that people do have various, you could almost say like mental mutations, I guess, where some people, the curve is typically people that like to fuck other people, and then down the curve you get to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and the caveman who likes to fuck rocks. So it's sort of a scale, it's sort of a continuum,
sort of a normal curve.
So, and it's probably good. It's good that we have that out there. I don't know how it's good, but, variation I think is good. And, maybe someday evolution will take a very strange turn where the fittest is suddenly people that like to fuck giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. I mean, maybe under some...
In their spare time, of course.
Yeah.
You can't have people not contributing.
Yeah, like during one era, it's people that are very strong, and then in another era, for some unknown reason now, it's the dude that likes to fuck felt Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. You just never know. And that's why we need variation, and it's all good. We should embrace it. You Stay Puft Marshmallow Men fuckers out there, you go. Good for you people. That's what I say.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was reading an article the other day, I think just yesterday or the day before, about some sort of new evidence that suggests that humans, tens of thousands of years ago in Africa, were mating with another hominid species that was not Neanderthal. So maybe that's sort of where, at some sort of basic core level, that's where that comes from. It's just the idea of, try to fuck everything. And maybe sometimes it'll work, and you can somehow get some advantageous DNA mixed with yours. And
yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that philosophy.
Philosophy as a hypothesis, it's iffy, but all I know is you have an attractive goat in your backyard.
Fine.
I'm not saying I've been over here on certain nights. I'm just saying.
Creeping around unbeknownst to me.
Well,
So as long as we're on the subject of Daleks and Doctor Who, this leads me to another thought I've had over the years.
Well, hold on to it, because I do have to point out that we actually weren't necessarily on the subject of Daleks. We were talking about fucking other species and inanimate objects.
Well, as long as we touched on that subject at some point during our conversation. I had this idea. So there's the TARDIS, the police box TARDIS.
Okay. No, I know this one.
From fame. So
I don't know how, but I know the TARDIS.
I've thought about, it would be interesting to build one of these police boxes just because it's a fun thing that hobbyists like to do sometimes. And, obviously in the show it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Mm-hmm. So, you find a cliffside somewhere with like a little cave opening the size of a police box, and you build the police box like next to the cave opening. And, the thing that I think would be funny would be somebody who, takes people into their police box, tells them it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And just coincidentally, you decided to make like the scheme inside look exactly like the inside of a cave. Like, worst con in history?
Or episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit. We'll find out if a TARDIS shows up like in Central Park somewhere.
Yeah, it's my TARDIS, yeah. No, it's not fake.
You'd have to, I don't know, you'd have to convince like the parents of, or the kids of like the biggest nerds, the parents with the biggest nerds, that they'd even recognize like, what is this box that says police? I do not understand.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence that the inside looks exactly like a cave, and it's parked with one door facing up against this rock face. No, don't worry about that. Just forget it. It's coincidence.
Now, since I don't really know a whole lot, I only know it from I've seen the image of the police box. Do we know what the inside looks like for real? Like, is that a mystery to the viewer of Doctor Who?
Oh no, like, and just about every episode, if not everyone ever, like, they walk in there and the inside is bigger than the outside, and like on the inside it looks like various kinds of control rooms. And over the different episodes, like, he changes what it looks like inside, sort of like when you change, like, you know, what your desktop looks like on your computer. You know, like sometimes it's like very organic and like there's like buttresses everywhere, and then other times it's just like a fake futury, like stark white blinking lights and buttons everywhere, no labels on anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's been covered, and it's actually enormous inside, like the size of a giant office building. And they never actually cover most of it, but it's implied that you could just sort of wander around in there for a long time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if it was like going through the wardrobe in Narnia.
Oh no.
Or Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, or like, I don't know, some other sort of mystical box. I'm not familiar with the taxonomy of mystical boxes. Or magical, or in this case, super advanced, whatever.
Shame on you, sir.
I know. It is definitely a gap in my education.
Apparently, like, I just assumed, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the lesson, the overall lesson. Never assume anything. I totally assumed that I would mention a Dalek, and you'd be like, oh yeah, moving on. But
it's just one of those weird gaps. Like, I mean, you know, some people grow up with a lot of sci-fi, I guess, and some people don't. And I guess Doctor Who is sci-fi, sort of fantasy, from my lack of experience of it.
Yeah.
But, like, for whatever reason, like, you know, I grew up, we watched Star Trek, other shit that's not coming to my mind right now. But sci-fi was a part of life, but for whatever reason, Doctor Who just didn't happen. I have no idea, especially since my brother's, like, generally an Anglophile. I'm sort of surprised that he was never around. Watch, I'll talk to him later, and he'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen every episode of Doctor Who. Like, you fucker.
Well, I watched it because I only had 4 channels growing up, and one of them was PBS, and like when the cartoons after school were over, it was either watch like the news or go to PBS and watch Doctor Who, and like see every episode Tom Baker made like 79,000 times. Like, so that was my childhood for years, is just watching Tom Baker Doctor Who episodes over and over and over again. So
gotcha.
So thus, Tom Baker, like, is my favorite Doctor. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like different dudes play the Doctor.
I was aware of that, yeah, because like I think the most recent or second most recent Doctor Who, David Tennant, like, it was a big deal, like when they got a new Doctor Who, or they were restarting the series with him, and like I knew him from like bit roles, like he was in a Harry Potter movie and shit like that.
Yeah. So Tom Baker was the 4th Doctor, and one of the goofier ones in my opinion, which I totally dig. Like, he was like larger than life, and dressed larger than life, and acted larger than life. Like, they all act that way in some respect, but that, like, this is a question too. Is he my favorite because he's just been like just ramrodded into my head as a child, or do I actually like him because he's good? That's a big question.
Well, yeah, that's true. I have no idea how that shit goes necessarily.
But whatever, like, I like him. So maybe it's programming, or maybe it's he actually is good, like better than the other Doctors. Who knows? But it's subjective anyway.